Hey everybody, and welcome back. Right, well, got the AC on again because it's going to be hot today. First thing, before I forget, because I did forget last week, thank you very much to all the people who wished me a happy birthday. Very nice, thank you. Don't know if I'm particularly keen about being 73, but there you go. At least I'm vertical and functioning, well, 90% correctly. So, nothing else happening at all. Well, the electricity company people are here putting a new pole in, which is going to be interesting because there's not a lot of space to manoeuvre down there, and of course they always turn up with enormous pieces of equipment. So that's going on, so I'm going to pop in and out to see to that. They phoned up this morning and said, you know, you got this, we're coming to do the thing you reported, or whatever the phrasing was. And I thought, I haven't got them to come in to do anything, and I told them that. She said, the pole. And I thought, well, what's that got to do with me? But anyway, they gave me like, you know, it's a courtesy call to let you know they're coming. And I thought, well, it would have been nice yesterday so I could make arrangements, or even a couple of days ago, but 45 minutes before they get here doesn't give you a chance to do very much. Anyway, so what are we going to do with the bike? Right, well, Sunday I was fiddling on a little bit, back wheel, engine, chain line, this sort of thing. And first of all, that back wheel, I should have bought new spokes. I found actually one's broken, and the front wheel's in pretty good nick, but the rear spokes are really rusted. The nipples are nasty, so, and it's not quite running true, which is fair enough, it's an old wheel, but there's no way I can adjust it, so I think I'll have to order some spokes for that. In fact, I know I will at some point. So, but the other thing is, when I was at Mike's on Friday, he'd come across the TY250 back wheel. It looked pretty good. I should have got it off him while I was there, but I told him, oh, keep that, I'll have that. So I might phone him and say, you know, have a look at it, is it in good nick, do you think the nipples will move? And I might run along there and get that, because I think I'm going to have to sort of reset where the wheel is. I was hoping that once, I mean just once when we build a bike, I could put the back wheel in and, you know, put the engine in and maybe a minor jiggle of the engine and we'd get a chain line. This is close. But I don't have to start, as we've done in the past, you know, putting a disc on and then putting the sprocket on the outside to move it over this way a quarter inch, or on the inside to move it that way a quarter of an inch. But we'll see. So anyway, what I've decided is, it's a long-winded way of getting around to it, we'll put the engine in first. And then I think it's going to be easier to work the back wheel there, because I want to keep the engine pretty much centered. You know, you don't want all the weight on one side. So we will do that. I've really got to order the stuff. We're going to have to build the engine with the cast iron barrel, because although, what's his name, Peter Quick, BSA Unit Singles, has got, I think he said, 5 alloy barrels that he had cast up in the UK. I've probably told you this. They're with the person who does the final machining, and he doesn't know when he'll get them. I told him to put my name on one, that I definitely would buy one, but I've got to run a horn through this. What I don't want to happen, if we're going to use this barrel, because we never know when we're going to get the alloy barrel, is I don't want to find, of course, this is like, needs reboring to plus 20, say, because it looks to be pretty good. Buy a new piston for this, and then of course when I get the alloy barrel, it's going to come standard bore, and I've got to spend another $250 for a standard piston. So we'll see. We'll see. If it was a bit like waiting for the piston for the billiards, if it was just a case of putting things out for a while, I wouldn't be that bothered. We'd just build everything up and wait for the barrel to come. But if it's going to be months, then I'd like to get it up and running. And what's what? I mean, we could get it up and running with the original piston. Yeah, I suppose we could do that. It's a higher compression piston, but we could get it running and make sure everything's done and then when the barrel comes, get a new piston. That's the way to go. I'm glad I talked that through with you. You were very helpful there. Alright, so as I say, what we're going to do is set the engine in, because don't forget we have bottom tubes, so there's a lot of stuff to do. Front plates, back mounting, bottom tubes, bash plate. We can look at footrests then, so there's a lot of things we can do before we finally need to get that back wheel set up in line so the sprocket's in the right line. Alright, so let me bring you over here. Alright, so as you know, the bottom ends, cases and everything on the unit singles are all the same size. 250, 350, 441, 500. Okay, so what I've done is I've been and looked at Jensen's 250, which of course is still in at least the cradle part of the BSA frame, modified. So where they put that engine to get it all nice and centered, hopefully all reasonable for the weight, is this side of the front mounting is ½ an inch from the center line. Nearest, I mean, it's difficult to get center line on a round tube with a bike that's all built up, but as far as I can tell, it's ½ an inch. So what we're going to do is, that actually needs to come across this way, which is going to make that chain line worse. Bugger. So I'll make sure, because there's a nice casting mark more or less exactly down the centre here. They must cast this in 2 halves. Well, they would have done, yeah, because of the shape of it. Releasing and all that sort of stuff. Things have got to be sloped in a casting. If you were to cast a cube, you couldn't just cast a cube or it wouldn't come out. It has to have a slight, there's a name for it, it has to have a slight angle on it, so that when you pull it out, you know, the bigger end comes out and the smaller end is following it. So anyway, I'll find, because I can measure the width of this, I'll find an exact centre. We'll move this over ½ an inch. Then what we're going to do is we're going to measure, I've put bolts in to make this a bit easier, centre to centre for these 3 bolts. So we're going to measure, can see it all again. We're going to measure that distance, and that distance, and then I'll show you with a pair of compasses we can mark that out. In fact, let me do that. Let me measure it and find a bit of cardboard. Right, so I got my measurements made. The long side is 5 3/4. So that's, I know my hand's in the way, but I'll be helped. 5 3/4. Then from the top one on the frame down to the one on the engine is 3 3/4. 3 3/4. Go the right way, Michael. Okay, so draw that, and then from that one to the one at the bottom is 2 7/8. There we go. So right there is the mounting on the engine. So let me go and punch these 3 out, and actually I'll be honest with you, I've already punched them. I wanted to try it to make sure it would work, because you know what my measurements are like, but I thought no, I should show them how to do that. So that is how I did it. And again, Blue Peter, there's the one I did earlier. So that is like that, right? So, because I'm thinking to myself, the eagle-eyed people will notice straight away that that hole is further away from the edge there. So look, can't help it, I'm an honest chap. So let's try that. Right, so that goes on there, that goes on there, and hopefully that goes there. So now we'll transfer this to a couple of plates of alloy, cut them out, then we'll put the engine where we want it to be and make some spaces, because don't forget, here is wider than there. Actually, I should have the original spacer for that somewhere. Be in the little box of Greaves things, because when I press that flat, that's going to be out a bit at the bottom here, so we're going to have a reasonable size spacer to go in there. And as I say, I think, let me pull you out. That there's enough room here that the bottom and the back can be fixed. I can lift that up, pull it forward slightly, and it'll come out easily. Yeah. Rather than trying to go to all this bother at the back. Right, so let me go and find some. Oh, have I got any 1/4 inch alloy plate? I'd like to use 1/4 inch. I know I've got 3/16. Let me go and have a look. Let me go and cut 2 plates, and then we'll see about marking this up to get this back one in. Then we're going to make sure we're going to keep the engine straight. So what I can do then is put a straight edge across this case and measure into the centre line both sides, and I'll show you how I'm going to mark the centre line on a round piece of tube in a minute. Now, just to prove this is real time, I don't have any 1/4 inch plates, so I'll have to go out and get some this afternoon, but I don't want to waste time, and I can't get the car out because of all the blooming lorries and tracked vehicles and things that are out there. Okay, so I thought I'd get things at least marked up. So what I've done is, that's 2 inches, funny enough just there, that is 2 inches as well. So I marked that at 1 inch, marked that at 1 inch, drew a line. So that's the centre line. As you can see, it's actually at the bottom of the casting mark, or at the side of the casting mark. So there's my front there. Now I'm going to move you around so you can see how I'll do the mark on the back tube. Now actually this is a 3-handed job, but I can at least show you how I'm going to do it. Alright, so how do you get a measurement in the centre? Even if you use a pair of calipers, you don't know if you've come round slightly one way or the other. So what we're going to do is, this tube of course is one piece, so we're lucky here. So that's exactly the same diameter as that. So if we put a straight edge across, or if I do it that way for you to see, if we put a straight edge across there, right, we know that this edge here is exactly on the outside of that tube. So I can then, see, that's what I want to do this side. I can then measure across there, mark my 3/4 inch, just move this, do the same there, mark my 3/4 inch, and then draw a line. So as I say, I'm going to be a bit cack-handed doing this. I might have to tape it up or something, so let me do that. Well, things are looking a little better. Got that 1/2 inch over from that line. Put my straight edge across the cases. Measured from there to the straight edge. That engine is exactly straight in the frame. And now, just checking the chain line. This is almost spot on. I've had this happen before. I've moved the sprocket on the shaft. No, the sprocket's where it should be. It's so close that I can make the adjustment when I get the new spokes to the rim. Oh yes. And that rim actually, Yeah, that is centered. So I think we're going to be more or less all right. Well, isn't that good news? Okay, let me think of something else I can do. That, unfortunately, see, that tube is 1.5 inches. I hope I'm getting this right and you do enjoy me doing this thinking on camera. I know you've said you do. So the engine mounting is 1.25 inches, so it's a quarter narrower than this. Fortunately, it's not centered on it. This side, oh, it's about 1/4 inch out. It's 1/4 inch towards me, and this way, of course, it's. Well, if it's 1/4 of this, it should be 1/2 inch, which it is round about. So what do we do there? See, if I'm going to make a fixed thing, it's got to jog this way there, and it's got to jog the other way out here. Not the end of the world. I can make them up, bolt them to this so that they're touching there, and then bronze them. Still thinking of making that a permanent one. This is such a... The plate would have to come up here, curve round there. Then I could just make a couple of alloy spacing pieces to fill that gap up. Yeah, I'm still heading towards making that. Oh, would it? Would it? Anyway, I won't bore you with that thinking. Uh-oh, you're saying, what's going on? Uh-oh is right. I've been fiddling around here with all sorts of measurements regarding the back wheel and everything, and we need a new swinging arm. That one is completely knackered. It's when I get now to some really close, because I've got the engine in exactly right. I'm going to make the engine plates up, put the engine in perfectly. Got to. And then work off that, because I know I've just been measuring from here to there, both sides. I know this is exactly all square, but I put the swinging arm in and things still aren't right, and that it seems to be twisted a little. It's knackered. I should have admitted it at the beginning instead of trying to squeeze it and fix it. I should have known that ice. And then probably, you know, all the pressing and pushing and things like that. So I've got some of the right section that I used for the swinging arm I built for the Enfield. So we're going to build a new swinging arm. But we're going to carry on and get this engine in here correctly. Okay. Because I might have to get a couple more bits of tube and stuff to make the swinging arm up. Pretty sure I'll have to make. I might be able to press those bushes out and reuse them. I don't know. But yeah. For instance, I just had the swinging arm on the bench and had it up on blocks. And when I have the swinging arm on, and this exactly horizontal, the back wheel is exactly horizontal, but on the bench it's not. The swinging arm's a bit like that. But I know that this is right because I've just measured it. So I don't know. Whatever, as I say, it must have just been that too many things happened that swinging arm. Anyway, I don't want to take up too much time, but we're going to build a new swinging arm. But for now, let's just carry on. I'm going to go out this afternoon and get some 1/4 inch alloy. Luckily, the metal stockist is only about 20 miles away. I'll trundle down there. I mean, that'll take up this afternoon. We'll make up the front plates, make up the back plates, make up the bottom tubes, get the engine in absolutely right, and then we can start making sure we get our chain line right and the wheels in line and so on. Okay, so sorry about that. I know some of you said just make a new swinging arm, that one's not salvageable, but what can I say? Alright, so let's press on. Alright, the world is winding me up. My metal supply doesn't have any 1/4 inch alloy, 6061. So I'll order it from McMaster this afternoon and it'll be here tomorrow afternoon. And don't want to start on the swinging arm because I want to know whether... Anyway, everything is coming together to be a complete pain. Right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start cutting all the pieces to make the swinging arm. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these suspension mounts off here and these fork ends off and use them. That will at least save us a little bit of time. As I said, this is what I use for the Enfield swinging arm, which is a lot bigger, heavier bike than this is going to be, and that was held up for what? A year and a half. It's been ridden a lot. So let me take some measurements off this one, start cutting this. I decide how I'm going to do that. So I've got to make some measurements. Then I'll order the alloy and I'll see about some tube and stuff for that. Okay, so let me get stuck in measuring and we'll just do what we can when we can. So there's a drawing of the swinging arm, and no, your eyes do not deceive you. That wider measurement does say 7 and that does say 7.5. I'll explain why in a second. Anyway, the really important thing is these are parallel. On the Greeve swinging arm, I went and measured the other one because there's nothing wrong with that, and they are parallel. So that is 9 inches wide on the Greaves one. This is wider than the material I'm going to use. So I'm going to use 3/4 inch there. And as I say, I've used it before, so don't worry about it. 1.5 by 3/4. So if that's 9 inches, 2 3/4 of 1.5, 1.5 of 9 is 7.5. The distance between the forks on the Greaves is 7 inches. But of course, as I say, this is an inch, something like that, 1.1 inches. So that would get that down to just below 7. These are barely inside of this. Alright. But as I say, the important thing is the parallel. So we're going to make this out of 1.5 inches by 3/4. We're going to cut them out of the existing swinging arm and just use them. So I've just measured how long they go in and where they go from the center of the pivot to the end of the actual arm. It's 15.5 inches. This is basically 1.5 inch 1/8 inch wall, and I've got some 1.5 inch 1/8 inch wall tube. So I've got that, I've got this. That is inch by inch or 1.5 inch square box section. I have some of that as well. So I've got everything I need to make this relatively quickly. So this might turn out to be this week's project actually. I think I'm going to trundle down, I'm going to order the alloy plate, but also I think I'll trundle down to Mike's first thing in the morning, pick up that other wheel, see if it's a better wheel. And if it doesn't need anything doing to it, I can actually put the tire and tube on. But anyway, that all depends on how things are, whether I decide I need to move the wheel about inside there. But as I say, big thing is they're parallel. I don't have to start worrying about angles. You know, the angle that this goes up to that tube, and if that bends out like that, then they need to be at an angle. So everything can be made quite easily. So let me start sawing some box section, or as they call it here, square tube, even when it's not square, such as these are. Alright, new day and a new job. done nothing but rain since I spoke to you yesterday. Okay, I've cut my 2 pieces just slightly longer the whatever it was I wanted, 15 and where did I say it was? 15.5 inches, hopefully. A bit much if I screwed up before we even got started. Yeah, it's 15 and 5/8. So what we're going to do is we're going to mill the end, turn it round and mill the other end so these are absolutely the same length. Then the next step will be 1.5, while it's still in here like this, 1.5 inch hole saw to put the cope into that for the piece of round tube. Oh, and speaking of the round tube for there, just a moment ago before I switched you on, I was able to get those out of there. Well, the heat affected that there, look. Not much. So at least I don't have to make those up. Although what I might do is cut that to be the same size as that and might as well get them centered properly. Alright, so let me just run this across the end of here. Excuse my head. I'm just checking to see that we've cut. Right, that's cut everything, so we know that. Oh, I'm getting very good. Oh, pardon me. Oh dear. Before I put these in here, I actually got the dial indicator out and trammed this in to make sure that that is exactly square to that. So anyway, I'm going to turn this round, do the other end, make sure they're the same length. So I need to buy a new one of these. It's a bit blunt, so we will take it slow and with plenty of lube. I had that clamped as well, by the way, so it didn't move. So let's see. And I took the drill bit out so I could get centre. I thought that was the thing that broke off. It's the piece we've cut out. Oh, that was nasty for a minute. halfway there. There we go. Alright, let's let that cool down. So there's that cut out of the two of those. Needs very slightly, it's very slightly massaging to get that to go down in there. I suppose that's the problem with using just an ordinary hole saw. It's not going to be exactly right. In fact, I've got to measure this. Maybe this isn't exactly 1.5 inches. Turn that a little bit. Anyway, the next thing I'm going to do, hold on, is I'm going to cut these out of here. While I've got the thing over here, I'll cut the suspension mounts off as well. And these are 3/16 for some reason. Why they didn't make them 1/4 inch, I don't know. So I'm going to have to fiddle on a little bit to do the slots. I think the 3/16. Yes, they are. Okay, so let me get these out and then we'll set up with the new arms to mill these slots in. Now that's all those pieces cut off. They were bronzed on. I've got to get all that bronze off. These are welded in, and look, they're not even solid plates. And the other thing, they look nasty. When I cut through the end, a load of black water came out. So they still had water in, and I had a little look up inside. They look horrible. So yeah, should never have tried to salvage it. Okay, so these, as I say, have all got to be sanded. I couldn't get that. I'll be able to get that out now probably. The adjuster Allen bolt out that the little snail cam snubs up to. And as I say, they'll have to be sanded off, get all that bronze off so the new bronze will take well. Alright, let me set up now to do the slots for these. Alright, own up. Who's got my calipers? Okay. I've been working to get them cleaned up. Put some stuff on there so I can mark it, and now I can't find my calipers to do the measurements and the marking. Plus, there's a Ronnie Dio song, can't remember which one it is. Some of the words are, it's like broken glass, you get cut before you see it. And before I had a chance to sand the ends of those, I cut my thumb. Alright, let me keep looking for the calipers. Right, well, that's amazing. I can't find them anywhere. So we're going to have to do a phrase I hate. We're going to have to go old school. Not too bad. At least it's not a vernier. So I've got these are a nice Mitutoyo. Okay, so let's get an averagey sort of reading. About 92, 0.192, 3/16 as I say. These are slightly bent, you know. Yeah, 0.190. That needs sanding down a little bit. Yeah, 190, 192. Alright, so I'm going to measure these and then we'll mark them to put that thickness in the sender. Alright, so let me do that. Right, I've got my markings on. I actually had to do them twice because with this having a curved edge, to get a face to run this along, it pulled this around. So when I actually measured the gap in the middle, it was too big. So what I did was, I put that there like that to give myself a nice flat surface. Added the thickness of that to my measurement and used that to go along. Okay. So there I was, pleased with that. You know, I thought, wow, actually got it accurate. And then look at this. These two are completely bloody different. It doesn't matter which way I put them. Look. All over the place. So we're going to have to fix up something to hold these, because I can't just, you know, sort of drop one in there and drop one in there and say, okay, that's it. Because they're going to be different. The slot for that is going to be different on the two sides. Alright, anyway, that's a problem for after lunch. And actually the UPS man has just been with my 1/4 inch alloy. So just to cheer us up a bit, I might cut that and drill it this afternoon. We'll see. Right, so here we are set up to do the first slot. So I'm going to do 2 slots. I've got the DRO set to 0, where as far as I want to go, so I can just go back. This is why it would have been nice if the plate was 1/4. I could have just put a 1/4 inch end mill in and done the job easily, but of course I don't have, well, it isn't even really 3/16, so I got it marked. This is a 5/32, so that's 2.5/16. So let's see if we can do this without breaking the end mill. I hate using small end mills. So it'll take me forever. If I knew what I was doing, I'd know how fast a feed I could use. This is going to take far too long for you to watch. I'm going to turn you off. Right, so that's the 2 done on this side. So now I flip it over and do them on the other side. And then the next thing we're going to do is the square section, cross section. Right, so I'll make sure to get these in shot. That's those done. Alright, and these fit in there. Just nicely. There we go. See? Okay. Cross section, or cross member I should say. Right, so I've cut my 1.5 inch square tube, put them in the mill and squared the ends off. That is just over 6.5 inches, which gives me my 7 inches between the plates. When I was tidying up the basement a couple of weeks ago, I found 3 plates like this, 1/2 inch thick steel, 12 by 12. So that is really nice. So I've got these clamped down, that clamped tight, that clamped down, so I don't think anything can move, and everything is nice and square. So I'm going to do lots and lots of tacks, and should I weld this or should I bronze it? On the greaves, everything was bronzed. Yeah, that was bronzed. Everything was bronzed except these. They were welded in. Alright, got the swinging arm all bronzed up. I slipped up slightly, even with all those clamps. I should have had an 8 inch piece, or whatever it is, 6.5 inch piece, in between the other ends because it pinched in slightly. But I put the jack in and it hadn't come in much, but I've got it back to being 8 inches across there, both ends, and these are square. So that's perfect. Alright, so I've turned up these 2 pieces, which are the right size for the plastic bushes. I turned a little bit off the outside. They're now an absolutely perfect fit into those scallops. Fortunately, I made the bushes 1.1/8, so a piece of 1.1/8, a piece of 1.1/8 tube. Whew. I was hoping, well, not hoping, I was planning to do it with a piece of alloy, because a solid bar of alloy would have sucked all the heat out of this as I was bronzing it. But anyway, that will at least keep it in line. I'm going to put a couple of clamps on. We'll measure from here down to the bottom to make sure everything's still absolutely right, and then we'll bronze this up. There it is, clamped up, ready to bronze. I've measured from here to the bottom on each side, 15 and 1/16, both of them identical. Really easy to check, but it's perfectly square there. Perfectly square there. See if I can get it right this time. So there it is, all bronzed up. Well, all bar a little bit in there and in there. I keep meaning to buy one of those, what is it, about number 12, the really big cups, so that I can get a huge amount of cover with the argon. Because the couple of sort of professional type welders that I watch on YouTube, when they've got like a number 12 cup on, they can have an inch stick out, and then I could get in there easily. Right, so let me get this to cool down a bit, and then importantly, see if we can get this rod out. I've just measured everything. Nothing seems to have changed, so come bring you back in a moment. So now for the big test. If you can hear beeping in the background, it's the power company. They're just finishing off moving the cables to the new pole. It's tight. It is going out. You know, I hate these people who make things and they work. Why would mine never come out quite right. Pretty close, but never quite right. Let me find something to drift that out with a bit. Right, this should work. They were actually a tight fit going in. I didn't want it to be able to wobble about, otherwise it would have wobbled about as the welds were cooling. Didn't want it to be that tight though. A little bit of lube and some support under this, but of course I could still move that. Should open you out a bit more, shouldn't I? Open, Michael, not close. Come on, vice grip. Got a feeling you didn't see half of that, but can't be helped when I'm concentrating. Alright, so there it is. As I say, I think now might just leave that until I can get a bigger one. That means I can't put the bushes in. I'll see what I can do with that. Let's hang on, let me open you out completely. Oh dear, there I go again. Okay. Well, it's between 13/16 and 7/8. Between 13/16 and 7/8. 8 1/16, 8 1/16, and oh, there is a spare fractional rock from corner to corner there. We can deal with that. Actually, that could be the bronze because these aren't perfectly flat. I've got to put a piece in there. So hey, next thing's to put these in and then put those on. I might put those on a bit further up. See, if I do that, I get the wheel will you've got to think of this in reverse. The wheel will actually go down from the position of the of the top suspension mount, and every little helps to kick us forward without having huge rear suspension. So also, it's funny, I've mentioned this before, it's amazing how much so many of you, your minds think the same as I do, because I had one chap, well I presume it's a chap, I had one viewer mention that I should lower the seat rail because it was a bit high. Actually, I just measured the actual greaves on which everything is standard, and the seat height on that is 31 inches, something like that. So there's a possibility, you know, I didn't want to cut things off, but I might just cut the rear subframe down a little bit. But anyway, this has come out quite well. Let's hope we can get them in and keep everything square. These aren't going to cause any problems, I don't think. Alright, just had a call from Steam Shop about going to lunch. So I'll do that and then we'll come back and see about putting the plates in. Alright, nice lunch with Steam Shop, and Tom, who's his fireman you could say, stokes the boiler. Chili cheese, a Philly cheesesteak sandwich. It's one of those things that's a regional thing. I used to live just outside of Philadelphia, so I'm used to the real thing. It was nice, and a glass of Pinot Grigio. So this is all cooled down. I have pressed the bushes in. I slipped up. I made this the right width to go into the swinging arm mounts, and of course I forgot my little thrust things. So fortunately, because everything is square, I put it in the mill and I just milled off the 80 thou that they are. But now here is, and this time, again to be honest, I haven't tried this, so you could hear me go berserk, but let's see what happens. Nice fit. Oh, well, look at that. Okay, let's get this clamped down on our plate. Might have clamped this on the table actually, and then we'll, oh, I'll tell you something about what have I got in frame. Okay, you remember how these are really, well, haven't been cut the same size. Okay, what I have found is that if you fit that like that, hang on, I haven't really gone anywhere. There we go, that'll work. That's 1/2 inch, so that fits into there nicely. Then you'll notice, look, that those edges are right. So the rest of the shape is wrong. You know, they didn't make them the same shape. But that edge and that edge are parallel with these edges. So I can put them down like that and know that they'll be all right. Okay, so let me see about setting all this up. All right, we've got that down on the plates. What I've done is put some heavy weights on the actual swinging arm. Then I've got these chucked to the right height so that they're level. I've put the adjusters on, set the adjusters on both sides to be the same, and also before I put the actual wheel spindle in, I put it in the lathe and I put a centre on both sides. I've measured from the pivot spindle to here on both sides, that's identical. These are set up identically. They're down tight on their flat surfaces, and this piece is 7 inches exactly with the ends squared off, so even if there's any minor bits in the plates, the ends of the forks there are exactly square to each other. I can't think of anything else that I could do, so I think what I'm going to do is put a little spot on either side there and then turn it over and do the same the other, because I've got a feeling if funnily if you know, Steam Shop when he went to college did welding technology, and we were talking about things twisting, and he was talking about that and mentioning, you know, how it all, the way for it not to twist is to come up with your welding operations in the right sequence, so that knowing you're going to get a tweak on one side when it cools, you don't do all on one side, you just sort of do that bit and then do the next piece where it would be the exact opposite tweak when that cooled, and that way you supposedly keep them right. Okay, well, there's only one way to find out. Alright, so we're done. A couple of minor bits. What's that I'm standing on? Oh, it's a little humble. I got to fill in the ends there, and these I've welded them front and back and on under here, both sides. So as you can see, I need to do a bit of bronze there, fill those ends in, and that's that. So let's that's all I'm going to get done this week. Let's go and put it on the bike just to make sure it does fit. So let's see how much confidence I've got in my work. I've got to take that bloody thing off so I can... How the hell do I get this in here? How did I put it in before? Ah, from the... Get it in like there. Stop slipping down. There. There. Oh, goodness gracious me. And that is going to go up. Now, these are slightly inwards because the swinging arm is a bit narrower. Because the arms are narrower, the other arms were wider, so they were able to mount these further out. But we've got plenty of room to move the upper ones in a bit, because is the top showing there? No, it isn't. Hang on. Let me hold your seats. Just see the bottom of the saddle there. I put the saddle on. I wanted to know where the front end of the saddle went to, because I'm thinking of lopping a piece out of this, but of course the saddle mounts onto hang about. Hold on again. I bet you're out of focus there, aren't you? Hang on. There, I didn't want you to be too out of focus. Alright, so this is colossal. It's really too tall. So I'm thinking of whipping a couple of inches out of that. Now of course that will not only bring it down, it'll bring it forward. And this saddle has a centre bolt which goes in there, and it sits on that at the back. So we'll have to think about that. But that swinging arm's not too bad, is it? Should have done that in the first place, shouldn't I? Oh well, never mind. What was it? It ain't half hot, man. Sergeant Major... Oh dear, I can't remember his name. Windsor Davies. One of his little phrases was, oh dear, something, something, never mind. Okay, right, well that's it for this week. Actually, I'm going out tomorrow to do some final weed whacking and stuff. So next week we'll do the engine plates, and Friday I'll get that wheel, see what that wheel's like, and we'll do engine plates, get the engine fixed in its position, and then we can work out about the weight of the back wheel. Alright, so until I see you again, stay safe and enjoy yourselves.